Moving through our next agenda item, as previously discussed, there is an amendment to the agenda today to have a discussion related to our correspondence for our Guatemalan students. Just a reminder to the committee as well. There was a memo that was provided dated October 8th from the school board of Lee County discussing this topic area as well. But at this time, I would like to open the floor for discussion related to this agenda item.
Mr. Chairman, because can I open it up because I moved the motion?
Yes, Dr. Dino.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This has been an item that has been very dear to me since I started reading about it and seeing the emails that came in. I just want to state this. As a professional teacher, educator, the essence of teaching is for every child to feel secure and to feel wanted. You cannot leash out any child who does not feel wanted in your classroom. I tell you, if the word that was spoken by Chris Patricca was spoken by a teacher or by a school principal, they should be out. They have no business. But now it even comes much higher than that. As it was mentioned earlier today, we have a very large number of Hispanic students. And that was not just directed to Guatemalan students, it affected every single child. It's very insensitive. It is actually an abuse of power. Leadership demand that we take the courage that we have been talking about. I think the board said something, there's some kind of apology there, but the point is we need to take every action. I've heard over and over again that this is not the first time this particular board member has had these insensitive statements. It's heartless. It's heartless. It's painful. And what I'm trying to say is we need to recommend to the board further action. I don't know what that action is. If it takes the governor, it was recommended here, but I want to commend the members of the public who came here to talk about it. They recommended some things like it can be censored. Censure is very important. Recommending to the board. Even telling that board member, it's a time to get out for the sake of the children. I have no choice. I will make a motion for that, for all of them. But I want to say this is very painful and representing any child, anywhere, minority, majority, it is wrong, it's abuse of power, it's insensitive. It's not as a world-class school district that can do that. And this is not what we start for. We should be courageous enough to speak the truth for the sake of the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dianui.
And I'll be making a motion later on, by the way.
Mr. Kimball, see your hand raised as well.
I didn't mean to raise my hand. I would just put the thumb up to support what Peter said.
I apologize. Can you restate that?
Mr. Kimball?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't really have my hand up. I just was putting up a thumb to support what Peter was saying.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say something if it's okay, Dr. Blakely.
Yes, Mr. Burns.
As a part of this committee, I think it's our responsibility, whether we able to get something done or not, to at least acknowledge the fact that it was said and at least have some sort of accountability. There seemed to be no accountability. Anybody can apologize for making statements like that. Amen. Had that been a teacher or someone, as Dr. Dianui said a moment ago, they'd have been investigated, put on paid leave until the investigation was over, and came back with some type of recommendation. I think it's incumbent on us to do something to hold the person making those comments accountable. An apology is nice, but for me, it's not acceptable. It should never have been said. And we need to do something, make some type of recommendation that we can have. I mean, you write up a principal or teacher for something like that. What happens when a board member makes those type of derogatory statements? So something needs to be done. I don't know what that is or how we go about doing it, but I think we need to take some type of action or make some type of recommendation for that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any further discussion? Yes. See your hand raised.
Hi, so if we decide to censure, we would have to, somebody would have to put that on the table, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, so I would officially like to motion for that then, because I agree. I think we need to do something. If we do nothing, it's just unconscionable at this point. And I too feel like we have a real obligation to listen to people in the community who feel the exact same way, and we have to protect the kids. That's why we're here.
Okay. I have Mr. Campbell, and then I'll come back. Let me clarify that
Yeah,
that was
I agree with, we need to do something if it's nothing but vote or no confidence. If we do nothing but vote no confidence, to make it very clear that we're not satisfied with that behavior.
okay. I see Juan, you had your hand up.
Yes, so just to keep up this discussion, obviously, those comments were abhorrent. So my recommendation for further discussion for a motion would be for our committee to condemn those comments and to recommend to the board to investigate proper action and take all available action to them with respect to the board member that made the comments.
Gloria, I see your hand.
Hi, I would second what my fellow board member just said. It is our responsibility. I think that, even if our board is one of advisory only, and we don't have necessarily that mandating power, as Dr. Rodriguez mentioned at the beginning of our meeting when he was speaking during public comment, which I think is something that should be considered. I agree with him that the day and age in which boards like this do not have a little more authority and a little more influence as it relates to equity and diversity issues is long gone. But that's for another day, I'm sure. But I agree. I think that the comments were abhorrent. I was actually very shocked to hear a board member say something like that. And I concur that we should move forward with. I'm also very shocked. I don't know anything about the school being built in Estero and the data that allegedly exists regarding the overcrowding in our eastern schools and Estero not having the same sense of need as it relates to space. Those are very concerning comments that were made by one of our constituents. And I do think that, the fact that we've heard that, we can't unhear it. And really it's our role to be fighting for equity and diversity for our school system. And so I would agree that we should look into those comments further. And if that means, requesting that an investigation be launched, I think we should do so. And I completely concur that we should consider, I would be supportive of either this no confidence and or us saying that we condemn those statements.
Thank you, Gloria. What I'm hearing, and just want to clarify, I'm hearing that there are discussions from the committee to condemn the statements from the board member related to the Guatemalan students and recommend to the board to take every possible action to hold accountable, not to be limited to a vote of no confidence and an official investigation. I just want to clarify that statements are being made.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, is there an official motion on the floor?
Yeah, I think a motion had been made earlier on, and we don't need to ignore that motion, but I wanted to make another motion in the same respect.
Can we clarify the motion? Is that the motion stated as I just read?
Yes.
Mr. Benedek is making the motion On the
Yes.
motion stated is to condemn the statements from board member Patricca for the statements towards Guatemalan students and recommend to the board to take every possible action to hold accountable, not to be limited to a vote of no confidence in the official investigation. Is there a second?
Yes,
I'd like to
Mr.
second that.
Mr. Blakely. Yeah.
So we have a second by Mr. Bell and then and
That's fine.
any further discussion towards that? If not, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Dr. Blakely, I wanted to clarify once again, that initial motion was made by Mr. Bendick.
Correct, yes. And seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Bell.
Correct.
Thank you.
So the current motion for a roll call vote is to condemn the statements from board member Patricca for the statements towards Guatemalan students and recommends to the board to take every possible action to hold accountable, not to be limited to vote of no confidence in an official investigation. Ms. Crystal, can you provide a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Dr. Blakely. Roll call vote for the recommendation and motion on the table currently. Ms. Crisfonte? Ms. Crisfonte?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
Yay.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Dr. Blakely?
Yay.
Dr. Hatham? Ms. Graham?
Yay.
Ms. Marth? Ms. House?
Yes.
Ms. Purdue?
Yay.
Mr. Kimball?
Yes.
Dr. Day-Nui?
Yes.
Mr. Bendick?
Yes.
And Ms. Burrell?
Yay.
Dr. Blakely, your motion carries with no objections.
Thank you. Torres Nunez will do a roll call vote for the motion for a recommendation to board member Patricca to consider resignation on behalf of the EDAC committee.
Thank you, Dr. Blakely. Ms. Crisfonte?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yeah.
Dr. Blakely?
Yay.
Dr. Hatham? Ms. Graham? Ms. Graham? Ms. Marth? Ms. House?
Yes.
Ms. Purdue?
Yes.
Mr. Kimball?
Yes.
Dr. Day-Nui?
Yes, please.
Mr. Bendick?
Yes.
And Ms. Burrell?
Yes.
I apologize. This is Gloria. Whoops, I'm sorry.
Yes,
This is
yes,
Gloria.
ma'am, Ms. Graham.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Thank you, everyone. Dr. Blakely, your motion carries, no objections.
Thank you.